Reflecting on my 4 years in AVID makes me laugh, makes me smile, and sometimes it even makes me cry. In preparing for this speech, I went back and forth, time and time again, with whether or not I was going to even have the courage to submit it. Thankfully, my district directors over here gave me that final push I needed to make the leap and try for something that I have always wanted to do. The memories that I have made through AVID with students, fellow educators, community partners, and families will have a lifelong impact on who I am and the way that I choose to educate. I'd like to think that I could talk about how each one of my students has impacted me, but I know that my time is limited. I think that if I had known what AVID was as a kid, I would have definitely chosen to be in the program. I wasn't necessarily a struggling student, but the family and socialization would have been amazing for me. My mom passed away when I was 17 during my junior year of high school. And while I did have a couple of understanding teachers through that time, I know that nothing would have compared to what an AVID family could have done for me. I managed to make it through high school and graduated college, and before I knew it, I was starting my first job teaching Texas history and coaching at a middle school in Odessa. At the time, I really just wanted a coaching job, and I wasn't really passionate about Texas history. I just knew that I wanted to work with kids. Building relationships has always come naturally to me, and I think the AVID coordinator on that campus, Casey Granado, noticed that when students would tell her about me. About mid-year, she approached me, saying that she was going to have an opening for the AVID elective class, and she thought that I'd be a great fit. I thought that since I had been taught Wicker and AVID strategies in college that I understood AVID, so I said yes. And after that first summer institute in Dallas, I felt ready to take it all on. What I didn't know was that Casey had just opened a door for me that was going to change the trajectory of my life, and I must thank her for that. What I didn't truly know was that AVID was so much more than note-taking and organization. That first couple of weeks with AVID 7 were interesting, to say the least. Staying on kids about the small things, binder checks, planners, getting their study buddy list together, you name it. I know for a fact that I drove them absolutely nuts. But I also knew how important it was to lay that foundation. Then came tutorials and the ever-long battle of where is your TRF twice a week. But eventually they bought in. Eventually, we didn't have many Bessie binders or kids who forgot to do their TRF or write their homework in their planners. Over time, we built more relational capacity and the system started working. As students started to trust me and see that I was looking out for their best interest, they started to open up to me more. I had my students write in journals every day as I do now. And as the year went on, I asked more and more personal questions. Through these journals, I'd often write them little notes of encouragement or just tell them that they were going to get through whatever it was. I read some things that shocked me. The quietest kid in the room wrote about how when they left school each day, that was the last time they were going to eat until they came back to school the next morning. The star athlete, who seemed to have everything together, wrote about how he went home to a father who was always drunk and overly critical. The kids that never appeared to be struggling seemed to always be the ones who were struggling the most. I took my time in figuring out how to be the best person I could be for those kids. It started with getting a snack tub and giving a little extra to the one I knew needed it. Then it grew to getting her set up with communities and schools and making sure that she was never going to be hungry again as long as I was there. And I was able to help that star athlete talk with recruiters and obtain a full ride scholarship for football so that he could get an education and a life away from negativity. When my 7th graders moved up to the 8th grade, my coordinator let me have them for a second year in a row. During that year, I helped students prepare for the next 4 years of high school. Whether it be course cards, electives, tryouts, whatever, we did it together. We celebrated success together. We went through letdowns together. And we rose as an AVID family as just that, together. We had created something very special in AVID on our campus. Kids wanted to be in the elective class, teachers wanted to teach it, and our principal gave us the space to do great things. When the year ended, I hand wrote each of my 7th graders a letter wishing them luck and telling them just how much it meant to me to have had them in class. One of my students who hardly ever spoke thanked me verbally for giving him the confidence to speak in front of a room full of people. But what was and still remains the most impactful thing that one of my students has ever said to me happened during this year too. After she got her letter from me, she came up to me crying and gave me a really big hug. And in my ear, she said, "Thank you, Coach. If it weren't for you, I would not be alive." This experience still makes me emotional after all these years. And it also makes me thankful that our paths crossed when they did. I thought that I was going to send those kids off to high school and rarely ever see them again, but boy, was I wrong. The following year, I made the choice to move up to Permian High School for a coaching job. There weren't any AVID openings, and while I knew I would miss the program, I thought that I would be okay. I started as a special education inclusion teacher, excited to get to help be an advocate and do important work. And while the work was incredibly rewarding, I spent a lot of time completely isolated from all of the other teachers, floating from room to room. I had no sense of community, no sense of belonging, and I was working on a campus with over 200 teachers, feeling alone. I would talk to my former coordinator, Casey, and she would continue to tell me, "It's because you need AVID, duh." It took some time before an opening came at Permian, but when it did, it was given to me. I taught freshmen and got to build new relationships, and I got to see my former students, who were 11th graders at the time. At the end of the year, the principal told me that they thought I'd be a great fit for Permian High School AVID site coordinator. I remember being nervous. I thought, how will I balance this? Site coordinators have so much work to do, and any of you site coordinators, you know that I'm right. That, along with balancing coaching 2 sports, seemed a little overwhelming to me. Alas, I faced my fears, dove headfirst into the position, and I do not regret it for one single second. My first group of AVID babies that I had as 7th graders were back in my class as seniors this year. And I cannot imagine a more amazing and unique experience for a teacher to get to have. Even the ones who were not my students in middle school still felt as though I had known them for the same amount of time. I look to them and I see the future. I truly believe that I have been their biggest fan, pushing them to apply for colleges and scholarships, being the loudest to cheer for them when things go their way, and getting them through times when maybe things didn't go their way. I've attended countless college signings, taken dozens of celebratory acceptance pictures, and written so many letters of recommendation. And even though they are growing up and about to head out on their own, when I look at them, I still see the faces of those 7th graders. I remember times when they weren't getting to get on the court or out on the field as much as they wanted to, and I helped them to understand some of life's tougher lessons. I remember helping them grieve loved ones, navigate bad breakups and drama, communicate effectively with that one teacher that drove them all insane, you know which one I'm talking about, and overall, just being a listening ear. But sometimes, life parallels itself so closely and makes you aware that there is a reason for everything. I had a student suffer the same unexpected loss of a parent that I did when I was her exact same age. Except instead of being with her biological family, she got the news that her dad passed away while in my class, surrounded by her AVID family. I knew in that moment that I could not take her pain away, but I could do everything in my power to be the person that she needed. We raised money for her to get her a bracelet honoring her father, along with a pillow that had a printed photo of the 2 of them on it. I remember telling her to always shine her father's light on others through the way that she lived, and not to let tragedy be the thing that kept her from achieving her dreams, which are 2 of the biggest lessons that I learned through losing my mother. She is showing strength and determination and attending nursing school this fall on a full scholarship, wearing her bracelet from her AVID family around her wrist every day. None of this would have ever been possible if there wasn't one person who believed in me and my potential with AVID. I would have never had this opportunity to see my true potential teaching any other class. What I have failed to mention is that even though I know I have been there for them throughout their time, they have no idea how much they have helped me. While I didn't always tell them why or what was going on, those kids lifted my spirits in more ways than they'll ever know. They've listened to me vent, share personal stories about some of the hardest times in my life, and I can honestly say that they know me for exactly who I am. AVID has impacted the way that I serve students in the sense that I try to be the adult that they need. I read this quote one time that says, "Be the person you needed when you were younger," and it has always stuck with me. AVID has helped me be a more empathetic, understanding, and compassionate person than I ever was before. My students have shown me how to give grace, how to handle situations where I may not be happy with them, how to show respect and get it in return, and how to be a good person. I am so grateful for the years I've spent and the opportunities I have been given with AVID. As a matter of fact, I have made the decision to leave coaching and dedicate myself 100% to our AVID system and to the betterment of my campus and my students. I can't imagine a better decision to have made, and am looking forward to the future. Before I leave you today, I want to ask you one important question. Who is the person that you needed when you were younger? I want to challenge you to be that person for your students. Thank you.